We're back, folks. It's the Draft Degenerates podcast. We're doing corners and nickels, both positions, because they are different in a lot of ways. No, never let anyone tell you different skill sets. Not everybody can do everything. I see that sometimes on Twitter, and I'm like, learn ball, folks. You can't just insert good corner here in the nickel and say, hey, just play him there. It doesn't work that way. So we're separating them today. But Dalton, Jake, before we get into corner / nickel / sort of safeties for me and maybe not for everyone, it's going to be an interesting
defenders.
Yeah, slot defenders is what I'm calling them, and that's what I think we should kind of call them for the most part. Because, hey, at this point, despite what I just said a minute ago, technically anybody can play slot corner from a build perspective. It's just, can you do the slot stuff or not? And that's different depending on what team you play for, what system you're in. It's a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of different conversations about a lot of different types of guys in this group. And that's one of the things that makes corner so fun is you have your man, your zone, your guys who can do everything, a little bit of nothing in some cases. Not so much with this group. I think this is a fun group for the most part, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it for sure. But real quick, before we get into honorable mentions, corners first, we're going to start with our boundary, like primarily boundary corners is where we're going to start here. I guess RIP PFF. That happened.
Yeah, tough day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of insane in a lot of ways, and regardless of how you feel about them, it was kind of insane.
Yeah, the first thing I did was I went back and checked my calendar. I was like, wait a second, is it April 1st?
Right? Because almost.
That's why I was like, wait a second. I know what this is. I'm not done.
I know. I'm not going to get got. You can't fool me. Oh, shit. Never mind.
Like, oh,
actually, it was like every like name that I recognized from PFF, like
literally everyone.
I was like, damn, dude, who is still there?
I mean, they killed the king himself.
Tough though.
They had, Trevor Sikkema probably was doing 18 jobs for them, and they canned his ass. That's crazy. And as someone who is a fan of the Stock Exchange show with him and Connor Rogers, and like just a lot of the stuff that they put out, like the content side of PFF, like you can argue with the grades and all the other stuff all you want. I thought they did pretty good stuff as far as the content goes and did have some valuable things to bring to the football space. And they got just nuked out of seemingly nowhere. Like, because I knew that I had heard like a month or so back that they were being acquired by that Teamworks, whatever it is. But my understanding was that they're going to keep the content side separate, and they did. But in the process, also just got rid of everyone for some reason. I don't know.
I mean, I think part of it is at the end of the day on the content side, right? Like they just didn't have deep enough pockets to keep their stars. Like,
I guess, yeah.
I mean, someone like Mike Renner, for example, is always going to be able to get and can command a lot more at like ESPN or he ended up at Bleacher Report. I forget which one.
I think he's kind of been all over the place.
I think he's. I know
the
he
Ringer
does
now, maybe too. Or is that Todd McShay that's at the Ringer now?
McShay's. I mean, McShay's at ESPN, of course, but
right. But I think he's also does stuff for the Ringer or something like that.
Yeah,
they're all over the place. Yeah.
And then I think so. Like the only if you're not able to keep your stars and your shows aren't making you a ton of money, then you got to, especially like because there's so many draft shows out there. Shows like
there's one right now we're doing.
Yeah,
you got that. We're breaking the fourth wall right now. Actually,
yeah. And then then you got to get the subscriptions for all of your data, and the problem is just like who's paying for, like it just was too expensive, I think, for fans, and like the only people are people that cover this stuff serious, like that really seriously cover this stuff, like, and like I know you guys do a little bit more writing than I do. It might be worth it for you guys to have.
I do have.
I'm like at the point where it's just not quite worth. Like it wasn't even.
You probably don't need one.
Yeah.
Also, frankly, not to like say that I would do this out loud, but like if you asked me for a number I would just give it to you. Like,
I knew enough people where I needed.
You don't have to do it.
Like and like if I needed like a certain outline, I'm in like 6 group chats that I could throw. Like I could be like, hey,
can you tell me exactly what the coverage grade for this player was in this game against if you wanted that, it could be given to you quickly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That was like what I would sometimes do, but like, yeah, I just don't know if like they really had. I mean, especially like, I don't think something like PFF. I think is a luxury for a lot of people that in this economy, just not going to survive.
Probably
Yeah,
not. I
that's
think the
another
thing
good
that
point.
sucks. The thing that sucks is that we know how much Collinsworth made on the sale of the like business side of it, and I'm like, you're telling me you couldn't work to try to figure something out, like, and keep this band together? Because I thought the group they had, even after losing all the guys they had a couple years ago, like the guys who kind of built everything up, I thought they did a good job pivoting to finding new talent, and the fact that all those guys are now gone. It's odd, is all I'll say.
But also
it's
the advanced analytics side of it, AI is going to kill the human jobs for that, anyways, in the next year or two. Anyway, I mean, that's
probably
part of it.
Yeah,
you could ChatGPT could probably create its own version of PFF grades in an hour.
Yeah, probably.
And it probably wouldn't be terrible.
It's like, would they mean anything in the grand scheme of things? Kind of like the grades also sort of don't, depending on who you ask.
Yeah,
not really, but it would give you the same, it would give you the outward same look, right? Which unfortunately is all that some people are going to notice or care. So I think that's certainly part of it. But yeah, I did want to I don't want to say shout out per se, but I want to just throw that out that, like, for those of us who are in the content space and like do this full time, which I'm lucky to say that I do right now. Yeah, pour one out. It's not great sometimes, and it will beat your ass. So just be prepared for that. So I think luckily for at least Jake and I feel like what we do is a little bit different and compared to what obviously PFF does and how that business model works. We can generate a certain amount of revenue just based off, writing other things that we can measure more directly, I think, than maybe what they can with their content. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there for those, especially because a lot of those guys are draft related guys. That's what we're doing here. Definitely. I mean, I know I DM'd a couple of them of just like, hey man, like that shit sucks. Like, frankly, it just does. Like, it's not fun out here right now for a lot of that. But less sad stuff. Jump into our rankings here. So I want to start, obviously, like what I always do with our honorable mentions. And this class is interesting. Everyone that I have on my list, which right now, as far as pure boundary guys, I have 13 guys that I feel confident talking about in a show setting like this. None of them are below an early day 3 grade for me. Like, and I know corners, a lot of guys that come out every year.
Here.
So, like, not that surprising that you're getting only into day 3 type grades once we get to 13-ish guys. But still, like, this is a fun group, and I think there's a lot of different things you can find in this group depending on what you need at corner specifically. So, Jake, why don't you start us off here with one of your first honorable mention that you'd want to bring up here?
I'll start with my number 11 boundary corners, Cario Davis.
Oh, okay. So he's number 13 for me.
Yeah, but kind of like you said, Shane, I still have like an early third-round grade on him, so I'm not very well on him at all.
How about you, Dom?
I did not get to watch him.
Didn't get to watch him. Okay, that's okay. Like he feels like he's been around forever, Jake. I don't know. If like I remember watching him in like 2023, and I'm like, wait a minute, is he still?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've seen him play.
Yeah, but it's like a full look, I get why if maybe you're just like, all right, man, like.
I can't do it again.
It's like, I'm not doing it again. I get it. You're 6'3" and 5'8" or whatever it is. I get it. You're big.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, he is big. That's one of the things that I like about him. He's got great size, good length for the position. He's not the most athletic, but that size and length does, I think, help him recover a little bit when he gets beaten in coverage. Pretty good with receivers off the line of scrimmage for the most part. He looks patient in coverage. He is willing to play the run. Like I think his technique needs to be cleaned up a bit, but he is very willing to tackle, which I like. He's got a little positional versatility. Looks mostly comfortable in zone coverage, especially in like cover 3. And he's decent at the catch point, but for me, it's just kind of hard to get past. Like, I wish he'd be a little bit more athletic to pair with his size. I think he ran a 4.4 at the.
I think it was a 4.41. But he's a very linear athlete.
But it doesn't. Yeah, like when you watch his film, he doesn't look like as fluid as that. No. He kind of struggles getting out of his back pedal and turning his hips and stuff. He's pretty. His length helps him a lot at the line, but I do notice sometimes in press coverage, he'll miss like his first punch, which kind of will get him off to a bad start at times. Yeah, I don't know. I like a lot of things he does. He plays with a lot of intensity. Like he's very, very willing to play against the run. And I love like his length is great. His size is great for the position. I think for me, just in a class that has a decent amount of talent, just his lack of fluidity, and I don't think he's athletic as his testing suggests. That kind of pushed him off the top 10 for me.
Yeah, for me, the reason he ends up as the last of the guys that I've watched enough, like I said, to even talk about today, if we're going to talk about them. He's a very role-specific player, I think. I think if you need someone who can go up and press somebody into hell at times, even though his technique needs work there, and just be able to run down the boundary with someone where he doesn't have to move laterally, I think he can do that. And I think the same way if he's playing, a true zone, like a back third, like he can, because of how big he is and the fact he can turn and run and at least explode down the field, he can cover deep for you. If something's in front of him or someone's trying to run away from sideline to sideline, like he's probably not going to cover that guy. Like he just doesn't really have the hip fluidity or the ability to do that. And it's really easy to cross his face because of it. Now, because of how big he is, if he's playing, close enough to the line, like he can affect receivers, disrupt them, all that good stuff. But in like off-man situations, especially, if you run a comeback against him, it's open probably. Like if he doesn't get his hands on, he's not going to get back to the ball quickly enough. He's just very specific, right? Like if you need that type of corner, then, or if you could use someone who has that skill set to be kind of like your fourth corner or whatever it might be, he'll stick around for a while. But yeah, he's going to probably have a hard time sticking as a starter for a team long term. So yeah. All right, Dalton, since you didn't have Davis as one of your guys, why don't you go next here as one of your honorable mentions?
So one of mine is Julian Neal from Arkansas.
Okay, he was the next guy on my list that I didn't get to, so I'm glad that you're talking about him though in the show.
Yeah, I got to watch. I ended up watching him earlier in the year. So
that's right, because you had to watch. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's interesting. I mean, really sticky in man coverage. And love the physical side of the press that he does. I also think he'd be okay in off man and zone simply because of the tackling. Probably doesn't quite have the quickness to like really like disrupt the ball as much in off man and zone, but he's at least going to stop the guy. But the press skills are really, really nice. Like he really stays in the hip pocket really, really well. But again, like his issue is like didn't get targeted a lot. But when he did get targeted, it was usually a completion. This is kind of just going to be one of those guys.
Gotcha.
Another issue he has, huge tendency to face guard. Just doesn't get his head around.
I've seen this. I haven't watched him yet. I've seen this player a million times.
Yeah. And the top end speed's okay, like good. Ran a 4.49.
That sounds good for. He's what 6'2", 200 something, right?
He's like 6. He's.
I think he's 6'1.5" or something.
Yeah, 6'1.5". Okay.
Yeah, no, 6'2", 203 is what he weighed at the combine. Yeah, he actually he actually ended up measuring a lot bigger than I thought.
Oh, that's right. He had a 40 vert and 11.2 bro. Like he's tested explosively, so that's fine.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot to like. It's just, I don't know. There's the technical side's not great. Also, 5th-year senior. It's kind of like, yeah,
that'll do it.
I have a 5th-round grade on him. Or I think actually, it's kind of between a 5th and 4th. I think he's kind of like 5th, 4th-round grade.
Okay,
right around there. But early day 3.
Gotcha. Did you have him, Jake, anywhere?
He was my number 8.
Number 8.
I was a little bit higher on him.
Gotcha. Okay, because I knew you didn't say anything at first. So I'm like, I wonder if he's just waiting to let Dalton do his thing. So yeah, he's your number 8 then. Okay, so definitely anything you want to obviously touch on beyond what Dalton said, you kind of feel like he might be a little bit more valuable. It sounds like.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Dalton said. It was kind of hard for me a little bit to put him this high on the list because he is an older prospect, and that's kind of especially a cornerback. That's a little bit of a drawback for me.
Yeah, can be.
I liked his film a lot more than I thought it would. Like he's another guy that has really good, like a good build for the position. I really like him in man coverage, especially press coverage. He's really good at just redirecting receivers at the line. I think he shows pretty good patience in press coverage. He moves pretty well. He's able to, match deeper routes usually. The length helps him in jump balls. He's not. I wish he would be a little bit more intense. His playing style. That was one of my bigger drawbacks for him. I don't really see him. He's not a guy that's going to like chase plays on the other side of the field. I didn't really see that a lot on film.
Right.
And he doesn't really. He doesn't just play very physical against the run. Like he has solid technique and he can make tackles, but he doesn't play with much physicality. And then I also noted that I think he might have a little bit more of a problem with flags at the next level, just because I think he's a little grabby on his film, and I think he was able to get away with a lot of stuff at the collegiate level. So that'll probably have to be cleaned up a bit. But I just liked enough of the things that he did. And I think also with the fact, I think our list might be structured a little differently in terms of like slot and outside corners. So that might be why he cracked my top 10. But I don't know. I just liked a lot of the things he does. I really like him in press. He's got a good build for the position. I'm not really worried about his speed at all. And, he tested really well at the combine. So, he was 8 for me.
Yeah, and he does sound like a guy. He's one of the ones that I really wanted to get to, but I didn't, was him. And he seems like the type of guy that I would typically be like, yeah, sure, I can work with that. But then again, the 5th year thing, and there's a couple other guys that also fit that mold in this class. So curious what I think of him when I'm able to get to him when we do our final kind of look back at guys that we need to get to that we didn't. So let me throw out, this is a player that I feel like might end up higher for you guys than I have him. And I do like him, but I think he's kind of, to me, what ended up happening, and this sometimes happens when you're stacking guys and you're ranking them, I kind of view him as a lesser version of a player I have a couple spots higher. And so I'm like, well, if I don't like him as much as this guy, and this guy is barely in my top 10, I kind of have to have this guy. So, you know what I mean? Like that type of deal. And that is Devin Moore out of Florida. He is my number, I believe it's 12 corner in the class.
He was my next guy to watch.
Okay. What about you?
He was 9 for me.
Okay. Got it. So at least you do have him too. So the player that I'm comparing him to that we'll get to in a little bit is also, he's my number 9 player that I'll get to later. So there might just be maybe even a flip-flop situation. We'll find out. But since you have him higher, Jake, I'm curious. I want to see how much, if there's any big difference between your thoughts on him and mine. So why don't you actually kick him off here?
Okay. He's another guy. I mean, this is the 3rd straight guy I've said this about now, but really good size, good length in the position.
He does. Yes.
And he, on film, I don't know if it makes sense, but I think he uses his length to his advantage more than some of the other guys that I watched on this list. Good tackling form against the run. He doesn't really miss a lot of tackles. He looks like he has a really good football IQ. He's smart against the run. He anticipates things well, takes on blocks well. His footwork in man coverage is really impressive. He looks comfortable in press coverage. He doesn't ever look like he gets panicked there. Good ball skills. He did get some snaps in the slot, so he's a little versatile in terms of positional versatility. And I really just, when I was watching this film, I feel like I really never saw him just caught out of position, miscommunications or anything like that. I would like him to be a little bit more physical in coverage, especially with his length, but he still looks pretty controlled in press coverage. He does have some injury history that I noted. So
yeah, he missed a good amount of time with stuff, unfortunately for him. There's another player like that I'll talk about later.
Yeah, so that is a little bit of a red flag for me. And he has like I mentioned, his technique, tackling. He can take on blocks and tackle with good technique, but I think he just needs to play a little stronger, especially at the NFL level in both of those areas. And then just not a lot of time playing, as a starter. Just with the injuries and stuff, he missed a while. So I don't know. I liked enough of what I saw in film for him to be on my number 9, but I can understand having him a little lower as well.
Yeah, I think for me, like, ultimately the biggest thing is I think I agree with a lot with what you said, but I don't think he has the speed to kind of make up for when he does miss in press, especially. And I think carrying receivers down the field at the next level, I think there's going to be a lot more situations where, especially if he is in man coverage, where he just can't quite keep up if he doesn't really get a good press man jam on at the line. And guys like that, like, I just worry sometimes because if you let up a couple explosives a season, that might be enough to get you to just not be out there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sucks because, like, they could be pretty solid players for the most part outside of that, but you give up too many of those and you just kind of end up not playing really much, right? So, especially in a league where they're trying to prevent explosives more than ever, right? So, I think he's a good player. I think I could see him being like a starter for a team that really uses him as a weapon in that press man type of looks, but got to be able to do more than that. And I think he kind of is limited outside of that type of stuff. So, but good player overall. Still an early day 3 grade. Like, it's still somebody I think you take a chance on that could end up being a starter for you at some point. Dalton, anyone else you want to bring up as far as a honorable mention before we get to our?
I don't think I have any honorable mentions.
Gotcha.
With the nickel,
we'll get there.
Nickel stuff kind of took care of my.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Right. That'll happen sometimes. Jake, how about you? Anyone else you want to bring up?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. I feel like there's one other guy that I want to mention, but I'll see if he shows up later or not, and then I might just throw a little nugget in before we get to nickel defenders later. But let's start with our number 10s, because actually we don't have any of our number 10s revealed from the initial group here, but we do have Jake's 8 and 9, so we'll get to those later. But Dalton, why don't you give us your number 10 guy here?
So I'm going to preface this by saying he's my 10 outside corner,
okay,
but will show up when we talk about nickels.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So my number 10 is Dalen Everett from Georgia.
Okay.
He's my 10 also.
He is my 10.
Okay, there we go. I think, yeah.
Well, this might be the first this year of all of us having the same 10, which is very funny. Like, it's easier to have all the same, like, 1 or 2, but 10 is funny. So
what's funny is my 9. I don't know if it's the same way for you guys, but my 9 for outside corners actually has a lower round grade than him, but that's because I think Everett could have a better role as a nickel.
That's a fun take to have, because I don't have him listed as a slot guy in my grouping, but I think I see the vision with what you're saying.
Yeah, because here's what I'm thinking, right? Okay. I mean, love the athleticism and arm length, and the press stuff really, really nice.
Yes.
The problem is this man has the football IQ of a brick.
It's not not very good sometimes. I think in my notes specifically, since we all have him at 10, we can kind of just go back and forth. I specifically said he often looks like he's not exactly sure where he's supposed to be in space. That was the exact wording I used.
Yeah. Too many plays where the ball's thrown and he's like
trying to figure out what's going on. And generally that's not, for those of you, well, you definitely should know this just from the context, but for those who don't, not good to be wondering what's going on. That's just throwing that out there.
Not as a cornerback.
Not as a corner, especially. No. Not good.
Just like general understanding of space is just not good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll let you guys talk about it, and then I'll share my vision.
Yeah, you can definitely talk about him more as a nickel when we get there. But I kind of, again, like, he's really athletic. He's a bigger player. He's 6'1", 196, I think he was listed at, if I'm not mistaken. Longer arms. Has that prototype press build. And when he's just pressing, sure, I can work with it. When you put him in zone, sometimes he does just kind of look like a kid who lost their dad at the store. And he's looking around, he's like, wait a minute, who am I? Where am I supposed to be right now? What is going on? And, like, that's something that can get better, obviously. And if you want him to be a boundary corner, then it's going to have to definitely get better than it is right now. But he does have the traits to be a really good zone cover player because he has the athleticism to use his body in space to get in the passing lanes, to kind of shift himself around. Like, he has everything you would need to be good at it, just ain't right now. And he's played a good amount of football at this point.
Yeah.
Like he's not he's a 3-year starter at this point, full-time 3 years. So like I don't know how much you can ask him to like definitely get better than he is, but he does have to be if he wants to be a starter.
But you could ask him to follow around an athletic tight end.
This is true, and I'm sure you're going to talk more about that a little bit later. Jake, anything you want to add on Everett here? Anything different here?
I think you guys have covered him pretty well. He is pretty entertaining to watch on film for the wrong reasons sometimes.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah,
Good.
that was why he was a little lower than the other ones I talked about.
Yeah.
I
get why now looking at your list, like it makes sense that the guys that are above him are a little bit above him because like
I mean I do like a lot of the things he does. Like he plays physical, like he's willing to get in there and tackle. And I think he's pretty solid in man coverage, like bumping and running. But yeah, he gets himself out of position a little too often. And when that happens, he can get kind of grabby. I think he had a lot of pass interference penalties. Also, like he plays physically, but I also noted that he tackles like high for some reason because he plays strong and he's not afraid of contact, but he just goes in high too often.
He's kind of one of those guys that just like doesn't want to get into. I don't know. He doesn't like to break down when he hits people. I don't know.
Yeah, I like a lot of the things he does, but there were too many of those moments on film for me to put him higher than 10 on my list, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So yeah, 10's already done right away. That's easy. Jake, we already know you're number 9. Dalton, why don't you give us your number 9 then? See if we all have the same.
All right.
We don't all have the same number 9, but
Davison Igbinosun from Ohio State.
Unbelievable. He is my number 9 player.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Okay, he's my 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And guess what? I get it, but I have a very funny take about him, so I want Dalton to start here. But I have a very succinct way to talk about Davis Igbinosun, in my opinion.
I mean, love the long frame, and I think there's some versatility here. I think could be a good zone corner, especially. But man, like I watching his Senior Bowl reps, he just looked so robotic, and just there were a couple of times where he got cooked. And another guy that you're just like, turn around, get your head around, like stop staring at the guy you're supposed to cover. But 4th round grade for me, and that's kind of a big reason why.
So he has a day 2 grade for me, so very similar. I do think when he's in press man, he does some good stuff where he's just like locked into what he's doing and like he doesn't have to think too hard about it. So I was trying not to laugh when you said robotic because one, it's true, but also I literally said this is in my notes. I'm like, this is NPC corner 2 for every NFL team. Like this is what every NFL team's second corner who didn't invest highly in their second corner looks like. He looks exactly like this. Like he's technically sound. He does the things you're supposed to do, but there's nothing particularly interesting about him, and everything he does is very like systematic about what you're supposed to do. And so
fans of that team will complain about him.
Yes, because he will get got every so often, but he doesn't get got enough where you're ever like, oh, that dude is killing us right now. Like he's just fine, and it's really funny.
Jake and I are very familiar with that corner.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's a lot of Raiders corners. That's
a lot of them, but like especially Eric Stokes.
Okay, I thought Stokes had a good year.
Although Stokes is an NPC corner, like fringe corner 1.
He's the corner 1 version of that. That's the difference to me. Like he's actually like I think a pretty good player, but he should be someone else's corner 2. The guy like Igbinosun is a corner 2 who probably would be better off like in a good defense, like the 3rd boundary corner, right? Or like doing some other stuff. But he's a good player. I think I have a take that I'm pretty confident that he's going to be a Bear, because this feels like a Dennis Allen like put in a big long physical press corner who kind of doesn't do a lot of other things that great. That's what it feels like to me. Like he's going to be like their 3rd round pick or something is what I'm guessing. And if it happens, I'm going to laugh really hard just to myself because I'm the only one who care that it happened. But that's my take with it. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not. But I thought he was very interesting. But Jake, you have him higher. how do you feel about now that we call him an NPC?
Yeah. Well, I get it because there are some moments when you watch him where you're just like, okay, bro, like turn your head around.
Yeah,
or
the ball skills.
I think
right now.
Yeah, I have him higher. I think because if he can just be given a specific role, I think he can do it really, really well.
Yeah.
Like he plays with a lot of intensity. If he gets beat off the line of scrimmage and he's in man coverage, it's not going to be good for him because he's not a bad athlete, but he's not.
He tested pretty
athlete.
well, but he's not. Yeah, he's not special there. But
he's not in film. He kind of has trouble flipping his hips. He can get beat vertical, but I think he's really good at the line of scrimmage. Really physical there. He plays really strong and can disrupt receivers in press coverage. He breaks on the ball pretty quickly. And he's really good in zone coverage. He has good awareness. He knows how to read quarterbacks. Really good in the flats. Aggressive against the run. He can tackle pretty well. So I think all of those things, like if you just have him in that role, I think he can be really good. But I think he's also a player. If you ask him to do too much, you can definitely get burned. And he can definitely be a cornerback that fans complain about at times. But I don't know. Right. I just think because of some of those drawbacks, I don't think his ceiling is especially high. But I just think if he's in the right spot with good coaching in the right role, I think he can have a pretty high floor. So I think that's why I'm a little higher on him. But I definitely get some of the concerns with him.
Yeah, and you mentioned the athleticism, and that actually reminded me of something that I've actually noticed a lot of guys in this class, in this corner class. So he ran a 4.38 at the combine.
Yeah,
which like a lot of guys in this class, their 40 times I thought just did not match up at all with what I saw on tape. Like
they often
they're like sub 4.4 or low 4.4s, and it's like, dude, you're getting cooked by receivers that run 4.5.
Well, I think the problem is that something that a lot of people forget is one is that 40 times obviously don't have as much value as we sometimes give them. But more specifically, a 4.5 receiver will absolutely obliterate you if you don't actually know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't have, if you can't access your speed because you're too busy trying to figure out what the hell just happened to you at the line of scrimmage, you're not going to look as fast as that guy is. And it just doesn't, and also to be fair to corners, they have to turn and run. They have to it is a different type of athleticism that you need at the corner position. As much as speed matters, how you're able to access that speed and weaponize it matters a lot more than a lot of other positions are. So do I think in a straight line, when he's coming downhill, he looks not maybe that fast, but close to that? Sure. But when he's turning and running and he's getting that 6.2 frame turned around, doesn't quite look the same. Right. Yeah. And that's just kind of unfortunately what it is. But I get what you're saying. A lot of these guys ran faster than maybe you would have expected them to. But again, that's when the only thing I got to worry about is I got to get to the end of this finish line. That's all I got to do. So it's a little different, obviously. But I'll kick us off with number 8 here. So this is a player that I wouldn't be surprised if you guys have as a slot corner potentially, because I could also see him fitting in that role. Keith Abney out of Arizona State is my number 8 corner.
He is 6.
Yeah, he's my number 5.
Number 5.
He's my number 5 slot corner.
Okay, number 5.
I didn't put him in my.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't put him in my outside top 10 because I had him in my slot, but he probably would have made my boundary
top 10 overall.
Top 10.
Gotcha. Yeah. And you said you had him at 6, Dalton?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why I brought it up, because I felt like, especially with the way that Jake did his list, I wouldn't have been shocked to see him as a slot, just because.
Yeah, I think mine is structured a little.
And that's again, we'll get there either way. But since you're higher on him, Dalton, actually, because I thought I might be a little bit lower on him, and it looks like I am overall, especially with Jake having him. Obviously, he's 5 at the slot corner, but whatever. Tell me more about what you think about Abney here.
So yeah, he's a guy I was watching another guy I was watching earlier in the year. So that might be a little bias on my part there. But I had a second round grade on him because I love the physical style of play from him, and just really sticky in man coverage. Also, I thought his zone instincts were solid.
Yeah.
And he just loved the physical nature, how he plays. I just realized I wrote physical twice in my notes.
Hey, that means he's physical.
Yeah. And just, willing to hit. Just does not shy away from contact at all, which a lot of guys in this class I've noticed just don't have a lot of interest in getting involved in run support.
Yeah, they don't get you paid at corner, unfortunately. So
yeah, and also love the ball hawk mentality.
Mhm.
That's probably the thing I really like about him. The thing that kind of keeps me from being any higher on him is kind of an average athlete, almost, maybe a little undersized for a boundary corner at 6'1", 187. And because he's an average athlete as well, tends to get grabby when he gets beat. And that's kind of the big issue with him.
Yeah. By the way, listed 5'10" at the combine. So that probably comes into some of the size stuff.
Yeah.
That did show up a little bit for me. I think you kind of really summed it up really well. I think he's one of those corners that he thrives and survives on being hyper aggressive with everything he does.
Yeah.
And when you are that way, I think you either get a lot of splash plays, which he does. He makes a lot of pass breakups, a lot of tackles, and a lot of stuff that a lot of guys just never get in position to do because they just don't play with that amount of ferocity. And that's really fun. And part of why I think he could move into the slot at the next level. Not that he necessarily has to, but I think it would be a natural fit from like a skill set perspective. But I just think in general, like he has enough speed to run with receivers and stick him in coverage, but it just depends on who he's playing against, really. Like he's going to be a little bit matchup dependent as a man corner. I think he's hyper aggressive in the zone, like I talked about. Burst to disrupt passes, can jump. Like there's so many. I forget what the stat was. I don't know if this was the final stats, but I saw this somewhere that like teams try to run like a quick slant on him, like 10 or 15 times, and he just it never worked, literally, almost ever. Like it almost just was a moot point as soon as that ball was thrown as a quick, and that's not how that's supposed to go, obviously. Like you're not really supposed to make a play on that very often. Like when you do, everyone, like that's the type of play a corner makes a play on that and they get up and they literally like almost get a penalty because of how like awesome they feel after they do that. And he was just doing it constantly, and that's obviously part of his game. But I do think you talked about a lot of penalties. He's probably going to have issues guarding bigger receivers in man coverage, especially. Like he's one of those players that some teams are going to probably think he's like a borderline, like high second round pick. Other teams are going to be like, I don't know if we can draft this guy until like early day 3. It's just going to depend on what you want there.
I wonder what team would have a high value on an aggressive corner that goes after the ball well, but also is going to get a lot of penalties and get beat from time to time. Maybe Jura pulls the trigger on him. That he just sounds like Cowboys corner.
If only he played in Texas, it might happen.
Yeah.
Close enough. Anyway, no, I don't really disagree with you there. So I think
Jake, or you're gonna wait? Are you gonna wait till we get to the slot, or did you want to talk about it?
Whatever is.
You can talk about him now if you want, because like Dalton sort of talked about Dale Everett, but not really, because he wants to talk about the slot. So it's up to you, however you want to do it.
Since we're already talking about him, I'll get it out of the way now.
Gotcha. Yeah.
This way I don't have to go back to him, but yeah, I think you guys summed him up pretty well. I had him in the slot mostly just for some size concerns. I kind of just worry against him about bigger receivers out there. But I also understand wanting to have him out there because he doesn't shed blocks very well, and he's not super aggressive playing the run as a lot of this class is. So those are things you might want maybe a little more outside than closer to the line of scrimmage. But he's a very twitchy player, really athletic overall. He has good burst in short areas.
Yeah.
He turns his hips pretty well too. He doesn't really lose a step there. Great in the man coverage. And he's another guy that just, like, I think Dalton said it, but just kind of doesn't show intensity against the run because he actually has good form. Like he can make tackles.
He's like a 4% missed.
He can force fumbles too. Yeah. He's really efficient in that, but he just doesn't look like he wants to do it at all. Which I mean, I guess as a smaller guy, it maybe.
Yeah, a lot of corners down too. So.
Yeah, he is a cornerback. But yeah, he just doesn't play super strong. He can get a little handsy at times, and he is not great at the catch point because of his height. So that was kind of why I had him in the slot, but I can understand having him outside too.
Yeah, like if I ranked him in the slot, he would definitely be knocking on the door to get in that group, I'm pretty sure. especially if I projected him specifically as a slot. But Dalton, I think you're the only one who doesn't have the number 8 list unless I missed it.
No. Okay. All right. So my 8 is Brandon Cease from South Carolina.
Okay. Gotcha. He is, let me double check because I think I was flipping him back and forth. He is number 6 for me.
Gotcha.
Okay, he's 5 for me.
Okay, cool. So
yeah,
Dalton, you start us off here then, because this is a player that I was curious where I was going to land on him from what I heard about him. I obviously liked him a good bit, but go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to like him more because I mean he's young, and I think there's a lot of potential, especially with how explosive of an athlete he is. Very physical. Love the versatility. I just think there's a lot of potential in what you could do with him. I do think like I didn't put him on my nickel list because I do think like he should probably be able to stick as an outside corner, but I think worst case scenario he could be like a good big athletic nickel, and really be interesting there. But I do think he'll probably play outside. My issue is the instincts are just pretty poor right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially off man, just like, dude, you can't give up that much cushion and expect to actually get there. And also like if a receiver stems their routes really well, he just bites hard and looks silly.
Yep.
And I think he's a ways off from being ready to start, but I think does have a really high ceiling. I think I would have been very okay with him staying for a year and coming out next year.
Right.
For now, I have an early 3rd round grade on him.
Gotcha. I had him at 6, so I'll go next year because I think you have him at 5, Jake, right?
Yeah.
I kind of echo a lot of what you said, Dalton, but because he's in this class, though, like this dude is just really, really dynamic as an athlete. And like when you're that dynamic as an athlete and you can run in man coverage the way he is, he's aggressive at the catch point. The recovery speed is crazy. So like when he does get beat, he can sometimes make up for it because of the speed there. But he can be beaten across his face, I think, a little too often for someone with his athletic profile. And you talked about it, especially you talk about off man, and I agree, but like in zone, his awareness is just really not there right now. Like his ability to process things in front of him, like he's kind of the opposite of Abney in a lot of way, where like Abney loves to crash down and like make plays, read stuff out in front of him in zone. Cease just can't. He's just not really there with it yet. And like if he can get that element of his game, that would make him a really, really potentially high-end outside corner. But I get why you have him ranked a little bit lower, because if he is kind of what he is, which hopefully not with a player this young and talented, but he is going to struggle to consistently hold down a starting job in the NFL because he's going to get got a lot in that kind of, especially short underneath area and being able to come up and read stuff out. So very, very kind of similar, I think, thinking there. I had him with as far as a grade. It's early day too, so like I'd say like somewhere that he'll probably be a top 50-ish player for me. Just based off talent, but I get why you'd have him lower for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely a project kind of guy. It's interesting that, Dalton, that you noted him playing super off in coverage, because I noticed that too, but sometimes he'll still get beat over the top in those situations because he literally waits until the last possible second to turn his hips. Like he will not turn his hips until he has like no choice. Yeah, the instincts just aren't there, which, I think he's still 20. I don't think he'll turn 21 until before his rookie year. I'm pretty sure. So he has a lot of promise for that age, but also a lot of things that just need to be ironed out. Like he's really, really aggressive. He won't turn his hips until the last second. Pretty grabby at times. He'll need to clean up his footwork for sure. Mm-hmm. And just awareness, like in zone, man, just in general awareness. But those are things that I think will come with age and more snaps. He's pretty bulky for his size, I think. Pretty solid off the line of scrimmage. He does play pretty aggressive. A little too many shoulder hits for my liking, though. I don't think he really wraps up as much as I'd like him to. But he is willing to play the run. He loves to put a shoulder in there. And he's got a little bit of positional versatility. He's played on both sides of the field. I think a few years ago he used to play in the slot, if I remember correctly. But
I think that might be true.
I'm not entirely sure on that.
double check that, but
Yeah. And then one other thing I noted with him is he is banged up like all the time. Like he doesn't have any serious injuries, but
just one of those guys.
I have a list of his injury history. He left a game in 2024 against UNC after taking a late hit, which that isn't his fault. But he missed 3 games in 2024 with a wrist injury. Left a game against Louisiana Tech with an injury. And that was all in 2024. And then 2025, he left a game against LSU with a knee injury. I think he came back in that one. But he had to leave the South Carolina State game early with an injury. And then he had to leave the Texas A&M game early with an injury. So none of those are serious, but like I feel like he's always just like taking knocks. And maybe as he kind of gets older and grows into his body a little more, that will happen less. But not a major thing, just another thing I noticed that's just kind of like an annoying amount of like being banged up. But yeah.
You mentioned like him getting beat over the top. Like it's hilarious how like if he's playing off man and you run a double move, he's gonna
fall for it every time
while the receiver's running by him.
I don't know. And like you can look at it a couple different ways. But go ahead. Sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's one clip that I watched. I forgot who was against, but he was literally like 16 yards off the ball, and he did not backpedal. The receiver got to him, ran like a little out and up, and he bit on the out and up so hard it just got burned over the top. And I was like, okay, like how are you playing that far off the ball and still losing 5 yards on the route?
Yeah, doesn't think like he thinks he's good with his cushion, and then sees the out and it's like, oh shit, I gotta pounce on that. And then just gets absolutely torched.
Yeah. The one benefit, you could say the one thing with him being banged up a little bit and not like seriously injured but banged up is he's only played just about 1,000 snaps in college.
Yeah.
Like he's not a super experienced player. So like, you get him in the right room. Hey, there's a reason why I think there was a point for a while everyone was just putting him to the Seahawks at 32 because like put him in Seattle's defense. He'll figure it out probably eventually. That's too early for me, but I get the premise, right? Like, I understand what they're trying to say.
I mean, yeah, big athletic DB from South Carolina. Like, it just
that'll work.
Yeah,
that'll work. There's another one of them too in this class that I'll talk about later. For the nickel, of course. But no, so let's get to our number 7 guys here because somehow we haven't gotten any of them off the board yet, which is interesting unless I missed somebody. But I'll start this one because I think this is going to be because we haven't had like any major huge departures from each other yet. This is the first one that I feel like might happen just because of where I'm at with this player, and I still like this player, but much less the consensus. I think Avion Terrell is my number 7 corner.
It's my 7 as well.
No, Dalton and I are linked up. What's going on today?
So I actually, it might be a little unpopular, but I had him as a slot corner. So
I think that's fine.
But okay. he was my number 1 slot corner. So
okay, well
he's my number 3 slot.
Okay, yeah, but he is my so. We might all like Jake. If you had to put him in a boundary, like would it be at least somewhere in that area, maybe, or would it be higher? You think than 7?
Maybe a little bit higher, but it would not be far. I don't
think. So that means that we might be the show that's being like, all right, Avion Terrell, good player, but like I don't know if because I keep seeing him go to the Bills at 26. I'm like, first of all, the Bills need a lot of help, and corner's not necessarily the number 1 place they should be going, right? And like they have other issues, but also I just don't think he's a first-round corner, frankly.
No,
but that's okay. So I was sitting here wondering, oh no, am I about to get got on the show? Am I about to get absolutely owned by everyone? And they're gonna be like, "What are you talking about?"
Nope.
Sick. All right, that makes me that the problem is that's either means he's gonna be like the best DB from this class, or we're just right. It's gonna be one of those two now, I think. But. Anyway, I'll kick things off. So, like, first off, and this is kind of why I get why you guys have him ranked as a slot. I think if I did rank him as a slot, he might be my number 2 slot. So that kind of lines in with where you guys are at with him too. Smaller corner, relies on his movement skills to stay in good position against opposing receivers, lacks the strength and size to handle bigger, more physical receivers in man coverage. That showed up often to me, which is kind of part of the problem with him. I think he's really smooth and a really good athlete overall and smart in zone coverage. Can flip his hips, get to his spot in zone, but he can be a bit slow at times to read out routes. I feel like underneath, like he gives up a lot of stuff underneath that I wouldn't have expected from someone with his profile, where he is kind of more smaller, like bursty type of player. And willingness in the run game is there, but the size and poor tackling technique shows up as an issue from time to time. And just when he's on a ball carrier, like when he's trying to tackle someone, he just doesn't have any stopping. Like he can get run through pretty quickly if he's in, like, especially if he's tackling someone as they're making a catch, they can drag him for a second there. So that can be an issue with him.
See, I'm very similar to what you said. I think the hips are just tremendous. And
Yes,
I mean, the way he can just change direction, follow guys around is awesome. One thing I didn't really see, though, one of my issues with him, because I do have him as more of a nickel, I felt like he just didn't get involved in the run against the run enough. Like, there were just a lot of plays where I felt like he got around there, but like waited actually. Like
he loves to like run up to a pile and just like stand next to it.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. When they run at him, I think he shows willingness, but it's just the size profile that makes it a problem for him. Like I think he knows that maybe a little bit, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, and that's like where I worry about him being a nickel because I don't know. I like my nickel to be a dog.
Yeah, it's
like
nice.
That, which is when we talk about our nickels, my number one completely fits that description. He just doesn't, but it's very young, which I do really like,
That's
and
helpful,
his man technique is really nice. The matchup limitations do just kind of create some
happen
for. I have a second round grade on him, but I think the fact that I think he could survive out there, does kind of like make him a little higher on my list than some other guys.
Yeah, like if he was a true slot only, it'd be a little bit different than I think. Like, because I still have like he's probably going to be just inside or maybe just outside my top 50 or somewhere around there. So like he's still a player that like should go in second round. Like I especially in this class, I think you could really get away with that. It's just the first round talk is kind of where you lose me for sure.
I agree. I did not see first round on him at all.
What do you think?
I don't either. Yeah, I don't have a first round grade on him either. He's kind of interesting because I have him as a slot guy, and that's with me thinking that I wish he was just a little bit better against the run because with his frame, it's just kind of hard for him. But I feel like he breaks down way too early on tape. Like there's a lot of times where he'll just kind of stop himself and break down pretty far away from the tackles. And I don't know if that's another thing where he knows he's a little undersized, but that said, he did force 8 fumbles in college. So
he does be
having him around the ball and closer to the line of scrimmage. I mean, he is able to, like, he had 9 tackles for loss, 8 forced fumbles, which maybe the forced fumbles are a little fluky because that just feels like a lot more than you would expect given.
Unless you're like Charles Tillman, you don't really be as it's not really rare to. It's not really common to be really good at that all the time. So
so that was one thing I liked about having him, closer to the line of scrimmage. But he moves really well. He's very athletic. He is, despite his size, he is pretty competitive at the catch point. He'll go up and fight with cornerbacks for the ball. Flips his hips really well. He plays confident in general, confident in patience. He knows, like when you watch him, it feels like he knows that he's athletic, so he doesn't really get panicked or anything like that. He has a decent amount of versatility in that he can play a lot of different places and he can do a lot of different things in coverage. And he's young, so he's got plenty of time to develop. I worry a little bit about his frame and just kind of the lack of intensity that he plays with. I don't know how much he'll be able to get away with that at the NFL level. But that said, I did think he would be. I mean, he's still my number one slot guy, so I'm pretty high on him there. I think. I wish he would be a little bit more impactful against the run, but the 8 forced fumbles and 9 tackles for loss do give me a little hope that he can contribute there at the next level.
He might be a playmaker a little bit sometimes, but not like a consistent.
I just wonder what tape we missed on him because
apparently
he had 5 forced fumbles and 3 sacks in 2025.
I saw one of them on. I think it was. What tape was that? Was it the LSU tape? Or is this? There was one. I forget which one it was. I definitely saw one of them, and I think he is very much like he's trying to as a run defender, he's trying to be a playmaker as a run defender when he's really trying. And that's fine, especially if you're playing on the boundary most of the time. In the slot, I want you to be a little bit more disciplined and more willing to stick your nose in there. So I kind of see where you're coming at with that one, Dalton. Having him as your third slot, but he's just. I even wonder, like, and people hate when you say this about corners because it gives them a distinction that's not true in his case. But I'm just wondering. I wonder what he'd look like as like a free safety. Like an actual legit center, because like he has the athleticism to be like a center fielder type safety and the ability to flip your hips and run with post routes, and also he's a really smart player in zone specifically, especially like you could have him walk up and kind of be like a nickel defender sometimes too. Like I just wonder what that would look like. Not that I think he should do that necessarily, but it intrigues me if that would happen.
Like almost like a Jalen Ramsey type.
Kind of almost,
situation.
Yeah, like a different body type at the same time of like.
Yeah.
You're kind of a corner, but you're also kind of a safety. And it's like, also, I don't really care because you play defense kind of like you just do stuff. But that would definitely intrigue me. But I think that gets us all the way up to only one of us has our number 5 listed. I think that was Jake, right?
Yeah.
I have my number 7 still to go.
Oh, that's right. Cause we had Dalton and I both.
But I have 7 and then I just have 1 through 4.
Gotcha. Okay. So who is your number 7 then player?
My 7 outside corner is Malik Muhammad.
Okay, I didn't get a chance to get to him.
Me either.
So okay, so I'm glad you get to talk about him in here. 7.
Yeah,
okay.
I was actually pretty impressed by his tape. I liked it more than I thought I would. I think he has a pretty well-rounded. Sure. Yeah, he has just a pretty well-rounded skill set. I think he's really quick in short areas, and he closes on the ball really quickly. He's got pretty good length, and he's able to. Even though he's not a very strong corner, he's able to disrupt receivers at the line with that. He's really good at just jabbing with one hand off the line. He won't be too aggressive on initial releases or double moves in coverage. He plays pretty disciplined in man and zone coverage. He's able in zone coverage and in man really to be able to watch the quarterback's eyes while still being able to locate the receiver, even if he's not, staring right at him. And he really just has a good amount of burst, so he can kind of recover after his mistakes pretty well. A lot of my concerns are just with the fact that he's just kind of a lean guy. Like he doesn't really play very strong. He's not going to win at the catch point super often. Kind of if he's going against a good blocking receiver or a bigger receiver, it's probably going to be a little bit tough day in the run game for him. And he's another guy that likes too many shoulder hits against the run. Like he just tries to pop people with his shoulder and doesn't wrap up enough, and he misses some tackles like that, which kind of a cornerback thing to do. But but I think his game is really well rounded, and he's only 21 years old. I think he'll turn 22 like halfway through his season, if I remember correctly.
Sounds about right. Yeah,
he's pretty young. So he's got some more room for development. I think the tools are there for him to be a really good corner. He's got to put on some weight and just play a little bit more intense if he can get stronger. But everything else, like in terms of technique and awareness and just instincts and stuff, I was really impressed with.
All right, he's definitely one of the guys I want to get to. Like, there's 4 or 5 players that are priority guys for me to watch. Like, once we get through our initial watch of all the positions, he's on that. I think you talked about the weight. He's listed at 182 at the combine, but 6 foot. Like, so he's a taller, longer guy, but doesn't have the weight profile. So you can find a way to slap like 5 pounds, 8 pounds on that. Like, he might be a much more effective player in certain parts of his game. So. Definitely interested to see what I think about him and if I kind of end up moving some guys down potentially based on that. But I think just Dalton and I have our number 5. So why don't you start, Dalton? Who's your number 5 here?
So my number 5 is Chris Johnson, San Diego State.
And we align once again.
Holy shit. I don't think we've ever aligned this much on any position group ever.
Turns out we're just one singular brain cell today, which honestly is probably good. Jake, where do you have him?
He's 4 for me. So.
Okay, so we're basically mind melding here right now. I really like Chris Johnson because he's very specific. Like, he is a good old, like, I'm playing zone and you have to figure out how to get around me and get past me because I'm always around you. And like when I was watching, I'm like, man, does this guy ever let anyone get past him, like in coverage, like down the field. I didn't see much of it. And I know he plays San Diego State, not playing always the top of the top line players or anything like that, but just so like he's a good athlete for the position. But he's so good in off man and zone. Like I think he lacks some of the length to play like press. I don't think you can ask him to play much press at the next level. But if you have which again, for people who don't realize this, like there's not a ton of teams that play man more than like 20 to 25% of the time in the NFL, like true man coverage, right? A lot of what you see is like off man and zone. He is perfect for that. Like if you just stick him out there as that true like zone, like I feel like if the Eagles didn't sign Tariq Woolen, this would be a perfect complement with Mitchell and DeJean in that Fangio system. Like he would be awesome as that second corner for them. That's something I noted actually specifically, but I'm sure you have similar thoughts on him, Dalton. Like, but that's the first thing I saw was like, the zone stuff is so good.
Yeah, really love that, and also like I think he pairs those off-man zone skills with really good tackling, which I really like to see.
Yes.
Like, which if you're going to be more of a fit for that type of system, you got to be able to tackle because you're not going to break up every pass. You got to make sure you limit the yak.
Yes,
and
he does
a fantastic job of that. But also, like, I know it was tough competition, but I saw a ridiculous stat about him. His passer rating allowed this year was 16.
Hilariously.
Yeah.
You would have to create a new thing when it comes like because they say like when you throw the ball into the ground every play it's a 39.6 or whatever it is. It's not even you're not even halfway there doing that to get like it's hilarious. And again, the level of competition, whatever, but like that's still an awesome.
But he was just
his completion rate allowed was like only like 35 or 40%.
And that's just by the way, it doesn't happen a lot. By the way, guys,
yeah,
like, simply doesn't
really
happen
good.
A lot.
No, it was basically at the point where it's like, you just don't throw anywhere near him.
It was a 41.
He was giving those Mountain West DBs hell the whole year.
Yeah, not fair. Not fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's probably one of my biggest knocks on him is he just also before I get into the knocks, like part of it is the trail speed, like his attacking the ball when he's trailing is just awesome. Like when he's trailing a guy, he just knows how to get his hand in there and time that punch super well. Problem is on the other side, 50-50 balls kind of an issue for him.
Yeah.
And you kind of worry about that given the lack of like high level competition, what that's going to look like in the NFL level. Is he just going to get bodied a lot? That's probably that's probably the biggest reason. Like if I saw him do what he did this year in the SEC, he'd be we're talking top 10.
The amount if he did anything close to what he did to those poor Mountain West receivers in the SEC, like we would not be able to go anywhere without seeing his name pop up on the internet. There's no shot. Like zero shot. Yeah. For sure. But like given the level of competition, you have a second round grade on him for that reason, just because it would have been nice to see it. But also respect to him like for not being a portal boy. Yeah, he says, "No, I'm gonna just cause everyone problems." In whoever's playing receiver in the Mountain West does not go to bed without very much having fears of like they have nightmares of Chris Johnson. Like those
poor Wyoming receivers were
never had a shot. Legitimately never had a shot. It was already over. But no, he's awesome.
He's a really really smart player and. He has a lot of like craftiness to his game. Like I feel like there's a lot of times when you watch him on film where he kind of just baits quarterbacks. Like he'll leave something and like have it look like it's open and then just close on the ball quickly and take it away.
Ethical.
He does that a lot. Yeah. But he sometimes it's like somebody using a user in Madden sometimes. Like I swear.
Something. One second. There's someone that I had, I don't remember, maybe I didn't end up writing it, but there's someone that I wrote down that I feel like watching him, it's like, oh no, it's the next guy. He has some of that too, where like, I'm like, this guy I would, if I was playing him enough, I would throw 8 picks to him a game. Because he does that shit where it's like, oh, this is open.
Yeah,
no,
he just
it's actually not. You're a fool.
And the
Get
poor
fucked,
Mountain
basically.
West quarterbacks had no idea how to.
They didn't know. They had no idea what they were getting into. They just simply didn't understand.
How many? No. Yeah. Like I don't think he was targeted 43 times this year, 4 picks. So like,
yeah. One out of every like 10 times
you throw his way, it's getting picked off.
He had some insane like statistical production too, because like in his entire career he had 8 missed tackles.
Yeah, he only
missed 8 tackles in all college. He was like statistically as good as you could be, like in every aspect.
The only thing again, maybe I'm wrong for doing this, or maybe we're all wrong. The only reason he's not one of the 4 corners I have with at least a late first round grade is because the competition level is a little bit iffy. And I think in true man coverage, like I don't know if he has like the arm length and some of the stuff and like the physicality in some ways to like hold up in true man coverage in a lot of situations, but he's not going to be asked to do that much because a team that drafts him is going to know that like, yeah, this is what he is. Like, we're not going to ask him to do that. So, yeah, he's definitely like an early second round player for me. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get to our number 4, Dalton, because Jake, that was your number 4. You said, if we line up here again,
I think we do.
I'm gonna freak out.
The same.
I'm gonna freak out if we do. Okay.
If you guys are the same 4, I'm gonna freak out.
I know. So I want Dalton to go first here. Actually,
what conference do they play in, Shane?
They play in the Big Ten.
Oh yeah.
There's
D'Angelo Ponds.
D'Angelo Ponds.
Yeah. Where did you have him, Jake?
So he was a guy that I had as a slot corner.
Oh no, Jake! You broke my heart.
Nickel, for sure.
My heart.
Which I mostly just did as a joke.
Here's the thing: this is the bad timeline. So some team is gonna take him and put him in the slot. He's gonna be fine. And then 4 years from now, some team's gonna be like, "Wait a minute, that D'Angelo Ponds kid was really good like 4 years ago. Let's put him in. Put him outside, and he's gonna be good."
Raiders fans have no idea what that's like.
Nope.
Nope.
No. We didn't just watch Meek Robertson do that in Detroit or anything.
Yeah.
I have I have an interesting comp for which I should have gone back and watched more of this player, but I did it just because I wanted to prove a point that it's possible. But we'll get to that later. I want you to start, Dalton. What do you think about D'Angelo Ponds?
So, I mean, pound for pound, probably might be the best corner in the class. Pound for pound. I mean, just fucking awesome. And like
certified this dude rocks.
Is obviously the only reason why he doesn't have a first round grade for me.
He has a late first for me, by the way, because I decided I had to do it because
I don't blame you. I wanted to do it, but I mean, that little bastard can play.
Hell yeah,
that little bastard.
He plays like he's 6'2".
He does.
And like punishing. Like the first thing that jumped out is like as a tackler, just holy shit.
He's trying to hurt people, but in an ethical way. You know what I mean? Like he's not like out there trying to blow knees apart. He's just like fucking dudes up because he can't.
Yeah. He is a throwback punishing corner. And like in zone, like he is scary. If you throw into his zone, every ball's a hospital ball. It just is. But then also in press, really sticky. Like
somehow he just does it anyway. So
and in the box he's just fearless. So you can move him around a lot. Like which you're gonna have to move him around a lot because there are obviously going to be limitations with his size. Like he's not covering, some of your number one guys.
Well, here's the problem: is he will try if you let him. Is the problem?
Yes, he will.
Like, you kind of have to unless you really think he's got it that day, you kind of have to do that with him. But there might be some days where he's like, I'm just better than you, frankly.
Yeah. He also
yeah. So yeah, there you go.
Like the NFL is an attrition sport, and he might get cooked by Justin Jefferson a lot, but Justin Jefferson's ribs are also going to be black and blue by the end of the game.
Yeah, he's not going to want to play D'Angelo Ponds again, no matter what his style is.
No.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like you're not gonna come away from those games and be like, oh yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. you're not going to want to do it.
Yeah. Only other thing with the size the only other thing tape-wise that did worry me a little bit, hips can be a little clunky. I mean, just a hair.
Yeah,
but like, really awesome player. Just, could be bigger.
This is the best way to just like to sum this up and kind of like get into some more of the thoughts that I have. Very similar thoughts to you, obviously. Size be damned, this dude is a ball player is the first line of my notes. That's just, and frankly, there's not a better thing you can say about someone than that. Like if you're watching a player and that's the first thing that you think of, that guy's probably good. I'm not saying it's as simple as that, but sometimes it is. And if let me put it this way, if D'Angelo Ponce is a bad NFL player, I simply don't know shit about anything, is what I'm going to take away from that. Which might be the case, but I'm hoping that doesn't happen because I want him to be good. But no, I echo a lot of what you said, Dalton. One thing I wanted to mention, and I think this is relevant because, and it's still fair, like you talked about the size limitations, and he makes it work better than anyone ever has a right to do with his size. One of the comps I wanted to, and I need to go back and watch this player more to like actually list this as a comp, but an example of this working to like a Pro Bowl level. Tim Jennings in the early 2010s for the Bears was listed at 5'8", 185, and was playing on the boundary and getting like 13 interceptions over a 2 year. But like he was legitimately out there playing boundary corner at that size, so it was making it work. Now, obviously, the NFL is different than it was a decade ago. Not saying it's going to be a 1-to-1. But this is something that can happen. Like just because his size limits him a little bit does not mean he can't be an outside corner. And I think you should. This is a guy who deserves to play outside corner until he can. And that's why, like Jake, I get why putting him in the slot, like it makes a lot of sense with his play style, his physicality, like the way he hits and can be a part of the run game. I think that even though you can put him there sometimes, he should be one of your outside corners.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I kind of just had him inside mostly just because of some size concerns, but
right.
I definitely think he can get it on the outside too, just because like he is just a dog. Like
this
guy, he blocked. I forget who was against, but he blocked a punt and returned it for a touchdown, and like broke like 2 tackles on the way back.
Yeah, he can punt return, by the way.
Let me see if I can find the.
Just a throw in there.
Illinois, yeah. Like
it would be because Illinois, they got fucked up that day.
No, he comes off the edge, blocks the punt, starts like celebrating, and then he realizes the ball is still behind him, so he goes and picks it up, and then like breaks the tackle of like a lineman and gets in the like he just when he's on the field, he's going 115% every time. And when you have that type of mentality and combined with the physicality that he plays with, because I think he plays bigger than his size, and his quickness, long speed. He used to be a track runner. Like that's just gonna mold into a very good football player at the NFL level. Like I kind of share the same sentiment as you, Shane, that like I'm just so confident that he's gonna be a good player.
Yeah. I don't know like how good necessarily, but if he's not at least good, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like I'm blaming it on the team. You will not catch me saying he's bad. I will blame it on the team that drafted him. I don't care. They can even use him the way I want them to. I'm still blaming the team.
Yeah,
that's what's gonna happen. Just throwing that out.
But he plays. He's athletic. He plays with a lot of physicality, but he's also pretty disciplined in zone. Like he's not super over aggressive, even though he is an aggressive player in general. He will go up for jump balls. His size kind of hurts him there a little bit.
He's got a 44-inch vertical, folks. Yeah. That's the other thing is he will go like he might be 6 inches shorter than some receivers, but he's jumping 7 inches higher than a lot of those dudes. Like if he gets the right timing on his jump, he's probably getting them at the catch point anyway. Like it's just different with this guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. My only real concerns were just kind of size related stuff. I just worry about him against like I know that he has the tools needed to get it done for the most part out there, but I just think with his size he might be a little better inside. I did note that he made a lot of ankle tackles from what I saw on film, but he has mostly good technique and he was getting ball carriers down, so it wasn't a huge concern for me. And then I do think he was a little grabby at times. Like I think he got away with some stuff.
When you're 5'8" and change, like
sometimes you got to be.
Yeah, you're probably sometimes. That's why I said, like, in true man coverage. By the way, missed tackles, he had 2 last year.
Yeah,
he had a 3% missed
great
tackle
technique.
rate as a 5'8" and change corner.
Good technique in everything he does.
But
yeah, I had him as my number 2 on this slot list. So
gotcha. Which,
it's pretty.
I mean,
pretty
if I was putting him in the slot, I would have to just put him at 1, even if I'm like, I don't know. I'd just be like, yeah, if they make him play it, well, he'll do it. He'll figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the one thing I'll say is I think he's probably insulated, even if he ends up there. All right, so let's go number 3 here. Are we gonna? I do think there's gonna be some difference at some point. By the way, we'll see if there is. But who do you have? Yeah, Dalton's already mad at me. I think he knows, and it's semantics, to be honest with you. I did it kind of because I'm just proving a point a little bit, but whatever. I have Colton Hood at number 3.
Yes.
Oh, same.
Okay. So we did do that. I kind of felt like that might be something that was different between us because I've heard a lot of different things about Hood. Of like some people think he's like a true like back into the first round guy. Other people seem to think he's like a mid day 2 guy. I wasn't sure if we'd all align on this, but I felt very strongly like that this is, especially if I'm not going too crazy on D'Angelo Bonds, I felt pretty firmly this was the 3rd cornerback in the class. So yeah. I'm glad that we're all kind of in lockstep there. I mean, he's about as explosive as I could have ever expected him to be based on because his testing was obviously very, very good, but it looked he actually might be the rare guy that I'm surprised he didn't test even a little bit better than he did, to be honest with you. Just watching him on film, you don't get that very often with corners. We talked about that earlier, but he's explosive. He's an aggressive man corner. He's improving seemingly game by game when I was watching him in zone coverage. The movement skills are just jump off the tape. He just moves a lot different than some of these guys do. That even the guys we've talked about that are really good athletes, he could shadow and run with receivers all over the field when manned up. He can drive on routes from zone if he's seeing it correctly, which again he's still developing there. But I think he's at a point where I'm not too worried about it going into the league right away. He can give a little too much space sometimes. It doesn't always anticipate routes specifically whenever he's in a true zone, not even an off man look. And tackling, it's not his. I don't think it's the best thing he does, but it's not like I'm worried he's going to get run at 8 times a game and get killed. So that's kind of the book on him, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, my notes are very similar. I think the physical tools are just awesome, and I think he's got the willingness to get physical too, which is awesome.
Yes. Yeah,
sticky in press coverage, young, which I think his age really does alleviate some of my bigger concerns because there are especially compared to some of the last couple of guys we talked about, the bad plays on tape are rough, like the tendency to bite on double moves.
Yep.
I will say man instincts not always being there.
Yeah. There was one play, Dalton. I don't remember if you saw this one or if you remember who it was against because I don't remember off the top of my head. He bit on a double move. And he still freaking got back in coverage and would have made the play if the ball was accurate. He still.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I was like, because I saw him he's got, and then I turned, I'm like, holy shit, he's back in phase with this guy. What the fuck was that?
That's the one thing with him where I'm like, okay, it's probably gonna work out. Yeah, I have a late 1st round grade on him because I just do think there's some development. I just don't know what he's gonna look like year 1 in the NFL because I think some savvy wide receivers might really give him issues.
Right.
But down the line, I think he's going to be damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a lot of room to grow. He's only 21, and he also did not start playing defense. He played football, but he didn't play defense until I think his junior year of high school. And then he only had 1 season as a starter. So there's just not as much experience on that side of the ball as some of these other guys. So I think he's got a little bit more room to grow in that regard. But he's got a pretty good size for the position. Very, very physical. I really liked how he played against the run. He sheds blocks a lot. He's not he'll take on pulling guards coming straight at him. Not like a lot of corners who will try to kind of dance around and make a play. He's not afraid. He'll go make a hit, and he hits pretty strong for his size. He's pretty quick in close spaces. I I think he tackles pretty well in the open field. I wasn't super concerned about that. But he does just not have like a lot of savviness to his game. Like sometimes he'll just be late in his breaks. He's definitely susceptible to some double moves. I would like to see him be a little bit more efficient in press coverage at the line, but he's not scared of being physical there. And the one thing I did note about his tackling was if they're in the open field, like I think he'll go and make a tackle, but if there are other defenders around, he rarely is the first one to go. Yeah. Like if somebody's running into a crowd and he's there with like two other defenders, I don't think he's ever really the first one to go in. He'll kind of just be a little bit more passive there, which is weird because he plays pretty physical for the most part. But
yeah, I think he was really sound this year. I will say, and I didn't watch his tape from last year, but he had like a 37% missed tackle rate with Auburn.
Yeah.
But then again, it's Auburn. Maybe they just are bad. Maybe that's just unfortunately we've reached the point with Auburn. Maybe they're just not good.
Yeah,
that's what it is. But yeah, that was interesting to me, the big jump, and I wonder if like that was maybe him making more decisions of like I'm going to tackle somebody when I'm confident I can tackle them, versus where I don't need to get mixed up in stuff that I don't need to be in, which I think is fine.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a problem. So
yeah.
So this is where things are going to get very interesting because I already know, and Dalton's already mad at me, and I'm glad I got one Dalton mad at me moment. That's good. At least we weren't fully in lockstep. And again, it's to me like it's semantics kind of. I mentioned that a minute ago. I do have who I'm assuming is number one for both of you. I do have Mansour Delane as my number 2 corner in the class. And it's an identical.
Oh, he's my number 2 also.
Oh, the upset. Dalton's alone. Holy shit!
I
didn't know you were gonna have the same thing, Shane. I thought it was
wow. And see, I came into this whole Delane is my 1, and I think there's a big gap between he and your guys is number 1.
Okay. But so yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. But I did not expect that. I just assumed Jake was in lockstep with you, which is very funny that he came out of nowhere with that one. Didn't even know what was going on. I was waiting until we got to the top of this list. He was not privy to the conversation before he got on the show before we started. No, so I have essentially identical grades on Delane and McCoy. I think if I was a team that desperately needed a like number 1 corner tomorrow and someone who I'm very confident is going to be one for the next 5+ years, I would take Delane over McCoy for sure. Like if I'm betting on what I know about these players right now, I think it would be pretty easy to just slot Delane slightly ahead of McCoy for me. I do think McCoy ultimately has a higher upside and more versatility in coverage if he hits his ceiling. That's what gives them identical grades for me. But I don't have a problem with anyone, especially because, and then also if McCoy didn't test how he just did today, like literally, I wasn't able to show the athleticism he showed in 2024 right now, it would have affected his grade by a decent amount, would have put him a good bit behind the lane. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. But I also know, Dalton, I want to let you start here since you're the one who has the difference, weirdly enough. I didn't expect that. I want you to kind of talk about why exactly you have a gap between these two.
Yeah, so the testing probably is going to narrow that gap a little bit. I might go back and adjust McCoy. Right now I have a late first-round grade, simply because when I looked at for McCoy, looking at his 2024 tape, if I was just basing on his 2024 tape and say that's like a late first guy that has a lot of potential to like become a top 10 guy if he plays another year. That's kind of where I'm at looking at his 2024 tape, just because I thought there were some things that I thought could be worked on. But then with the injury, now you got to factor in like the fact that now he's already got a major injury like that. What's he going to look like in year 1? And it's just so hard to project his growth right now. And that's just kind of why I had a very I think late first is a very conservative grade on him. to be fair, to be sure, but that was just kind of the approach I took with it, just because I just didn't know what he was going to look like. I just don't know how much better he has gotten.
I think it's totally
I get that.
Yeah, I think that too. Like, for me, like when I watched him, and there's maybe some of the things that I noticed or things you noticed too. So I'll start with the why I ultimately have him as, like, if I'm betting on the upside, the number one corner, but realistically like tied for number one with Delane. Dominant press man corner with elite movement skills, constantly in receivers hip pocket when carrying routes down the field. Uses the sideline as a weapon when able to force receivers to release outside. Click and close well in zone whenever he's seeing what's in front of him well. Like, it's really special, honestly, to me, taking away easy receptions. Sometimes does too much in zone. This is where I think he will – one of the things that bothered me with him, and I think is something he will have to show he can improve on quickly, it felt like he would sometimes overextend himself in his coverage in terms of where he was supposed to really be versus where he was actually ending up at, where like he would kind of cross into his own player, like his own defender zones, and kind of mess up a little bit of like the structure of the zone. And I think part of that is like he's such a good athlete that he kind of probably feels like, oh, I can make a play on this, or I can get in this passing window or whatever, even if it's not really his job to do so per se. And I think that's something that in an NFL defense, he's not going to do that. Like, if you do that, you're going to have to be sat down and basically like, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like, that's one thing that I wonder how much he's been able to work on, frankly, without being able to play. And I did notice he will occasionally get beat across his face and press against quicker, like smaller receivers, especially. And then as a tackler and like as a run defender, I don't know how much interest he has in it. But when we're talking about this level of cover corner, I tend to kind of not factor that in a ton, frankly. But I get, but if that was something someone dinged him for, I'd be like, yeah, sure, yeah.
I mentioned it, but like in my notes, but like like you said, at this level, like you know who else didn't care about tackling at all? Deion Sanders.
Yeah,
turned out okay.
Certainly didn't give one shit about that, but
not at all.
He did not.
But if the guy doesn't touch the ball, it doesn't matter.
That is true. That's absolutely true. Jake, you feel kind of similar here? Or?
Yeah. So I would say I think you guys summed it up pretty well. I think when I have McCoy ahead, it's not by a lot. Like, I have these guys very, very close together. I just think, and there is certainly some more risk with McCoy, given just his recent history. But I don't know. I think if he can reach his ceiling, I think that ceiling is just like a slightly bit higher than Delane's.
Right.
Like that's kind of where I'm coming from here. I definitely can understand the argument for Dwayne having a higher floor just because of the risks that kind of come with McCoy coming out of the draft. But I don't know. I just think his ceiling is a little higher. I mean, he does. They both do so many things well, and they're both really, really good in coverage. I just think if he can, like, if he plays and he looks how he did in 2024, with how young he is, I just think there's a little bit more room for him to grow. And I think most of his issues have a little more to do with just things that I think just need more time to develop. Like, I don't think there are things that are insurmountable.
Right.
So that was kind of why I had him over. But I pretty much had these guys neck and neck. I ended up going with McCoy just because I thought his ceiling was a little higher. But I get the risk there. So I get why most people don't have it the same way as me. But that was kind of my thought process behind it.
That's fair.
And then I definitely want to get into Mansour Delane, but if there's anything else you want to add,
I don't think so. I mean, so like I think the difference probably I think why I had Delane higher was the importance of physicality to me. Like one of the things I didn't like about McCoy, I mean, I love the way he squeezes the sideline routes.
Yes.
He's awesome in that. I mean, man coverage is great.
Yeah.
I would like him to be a little more physical on his redirects. That was kind of one of the things where I felt like, while he's a better athlete than Delane, I think overall, Delane gets a little more, makes up for it with really being a little more physical when he redirects guys. Mm-hmm. That was kind of, and I think that physicality is something that I just like. I mean, but that's also like, when we talk about like the all-time great corners, and probably part of my Raiders bias, I like Charles Woodson a lot more than I like Deion Sanders. Just gonna say it.
Well, yeah, I get that for sure. Like Charles Woodson is kind of impossible not to like, kind of.
Yeah,
as a
and
player,
that's just my preference of corner.
right.
But yeah, do we want to anything else on McCoy, or are we like?
No, I think
We're
we're
good.
pretty squared away with that, and like I, especially because and again, I didn't know Jake was going to do this with me. I want to preface again that like there's a good chance that unless someone that I need to go back and watch, or even like just in general the way the board shakes out, there's a good chance these are going to be like the 9 and 10 players on my board. Like, I mean, like there's probably going to be like somewhere in that range, right? So like, don't be shocked if they're basically in the same spot as each other like they are in these rankings. But I think Delane, like again, if I had to bet on someone at a position other than like running back or like really running back's the big one, but like if I had to bet on someone from this class turning out the way I think they're going to turn out, that's one of the higher ranked players. This kind of is the guy for me. Like I think he's just very, very sound in a lot of ways. Ultra smooth, sticky cover corner, the athleticism to cover multiple types of receivers, smaller, bigger, whatever you need. He excels in man coverage, specifically I would say off man. Like he is a little bit shorter armed. He's not going to probably be a big time press guy at all, but I don't really care about that because again, if you know that about somebody, you can get away with that. Like that doesn't have to be something you ask him to do a lot, but he's just so sticky in those man coverage situations. I do think the zone needs a little bit of work still, especially his feeling zone, but not nearly as much as McCoy showed a year ago. So that's why there's that big difference there with them.
Yeah.
But he has all the traits to improve there. Not a fan of his run defense that much,
too.
but so go ahead.
Disguises it well too.
Yes, he does. Yeah, definitely. Again, both these guys, I'm not a big fan of run defense, but they're both like sub 190 corners that are 6 foot-ish tall. Like that's probably just not something they're going to do a lot of. But the physicality, and especially whenever he's dealing with receivers down the field, is definitely better than McCoy. So I'll give him a little bit of an edge in physicality, like you talked about, Dalton. But again, really, just this is like if you're going to take a corner in the top 10 to 15 of a draft, like this is kind of what you want them to be like, generally speaking. If they're not going to be one of those like gargantuan, like 6'2" giant press man corner types that are just good at other things too. So.
Yeah. I think with corners this side, when it comes to run defense, like if you show that you're willing to get in there and like have some technique, like that's
you got to be embarrassing for me to be like, I don't know, man. Like you have to be like, I don't even like seeing someone get near you when you aren't the guy covering him. Like, and that's not the case for either one of those guys necessarily, even if it's not great sometimes. But
yeah, I think you guys summed up Delane pretty well. But there's so much to like about him. I mean, he had 37 pass breakups in the last 2 years, which is just an insane number.
Did I miss that stat? Holy shit. I didn't realize that.
That was somebody that did. I saw it a few weeks ago. It was somebody for Steelers Depot that did the scatter report on it. Noted that. So that was how I came across it. But I believed it.
I got to see if that is like something that I don't. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but I'm just curious how close it actually is on the stats.
Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, he's just insanely good in coverage. He's very good at closing in his short spaces, very twitchy, good footwork, really good at mirroring receivers. He has a lot of positional versatility. He's willing to get in there and tackle, even if his technique isn't the best. But he's a ball hawk. He's always around the ball. Really good foot speed. The tackling, I'm not a huge a negative for me just because of how good he is and the fact that he's a cornerback. You're not really going to find cornerbacks that can tackle that often. I do think he was a little grabby at times, but not a huge worry with how sticky he is in coverage in general. And then there were a few times on deep balls where I thought he could get his head turned around a little quicker than he did, but also not a huge concern.
Name the number of corners that are really great at doing that.
Yeah.
It just feels like no one knows how to do that almost ever.
I mean, that's because they just stopped teaching it.
Yeah, they're like, whatever. Like,
too many coaches still teach face guarding. It's slowly getting phased out, but
yeah, a little bit. I mean, they kind of have to because otherwise it's just basically guaranteed 40-yard play every time.
Yeah.
It's like we can't be doing that. Just come back to the ball. It doesn't matter. It's like they're not looking at it. Therefore, it's a penalty. And I'm like, all right, give them the 40-yard play. They got to switch that to a 15-yard like in college, man, or if they're not going to change some of the rules. Like, we don't need to get into that argument right now, but I'm just
play the damn ball.
That would be great, too, but if no one does it, Dalton, so at some point I'm like, do we need to –
I mean, they never should have been taught to play the way that a lot of them are playing.
I don't disagree with you, but clearly it's not getting fixed fast enough for my taste. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. No, that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I think we've got pretty well.
Yeah, while we're sharing fun stats on Mansour Delane, we mentioned Chris Johnson's passer rating allowed playing in, against Mountain West team. Mansour Delane playing in the SEC this year, his passer rating allowed 31.3.
Still lower than if you just chuck that shit into the ground every time, folks.
Yeah,
that is
pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's wild. Just, I mean,
quarter class really fun.
Yeah, he was a guy that I really didn't know too much about before watching tape on him, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, he's really just. I mean, the instincts and anticipation are fantastic. I think the only thing is, I mean, that keeps him from being like a top 5 grade for me can be a little clunky change in direction at times. But I mean, this is going to be a real, especially in the right scheme, going to be a really, really good player for a really long time.
Yeah, definitely a good year to need a corner if you need one, and especially like obviously if you can't get one of these top guys with McCoy, who knows how soon he'll go, because I think the testing will help him get out of like that 20-ish range a lot of people are putting him in potentially. But even if that doesn't happen, like if you need a corner, late day 1, early day 2 is your spot, man. Like you can get a good one in that spot with this class. Speaking of which, let's talk about nickel defenders for a little bit, slot defenders here. So you guys mentioned a lot of your names. So what we'll do is I'm going to let you guys start, and like we'll start with I think Jake here, especially because he kind of got hosed a little bit with the structure of the show, without clarifying how we were doing it, which I definitely did not do. But I'll let you kind of go through your list for a minute, and we'll talk about some of the names in there, especially if they're ones that we didn't talk a lot about yet. And then Dalton, you'll do the same. And then since my list is going to definitely be the most different from yours, I'll kind of finish this up here. But you start with that one, Jake.
So you want me to just
go over your names, and then we'll talk about the
one
players.
at a time?
No, yeah, you can just give them 5 through 1 or 1 through 5, whatever, and then especially the ones we didn't talk a ton about yet, we'll let you kind of talk about, and we'll talk about how we feel about it too. Yeah.
So my number 5 was Abney, who we've done.
Right. Mm-hmm.
My number 4, I had Traden Stukes.
Okay.
He was my
number
4 as well.
He's my number 1 slot defender.
You know what? I can understand that.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk. I fought with myself about it for a minute, but
do we want to talk about it like first, or
we can if we want to do that if you want. But I wanted Jake to get his names out first.
We can go through.
Okay, so it was 5 Abney, 4 Stukes, 3 Keontae Scott, and then 2 Pawns and 1 Terrell.
Okay, got it.
Interesting.
But we can talk about Stukes before we get into your list, Dalton, if you want.
Sounds good.
I mean, I have no. So I don't know if I necessarily think the testing fully aligns with the tape, but like this dude's kind of a freak. He's an older player. So I feel like that might play a little bit into it for some people.
ACL in 24 as well.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, this season, man, he kind of rocked. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was a pretty sick year for him, and I think he's the type of slot defender, over 6 foot tall, 200-ish pounds, really athletic player. Like that's the type of guy that's really winning in the slot in the NFL right now. And I think there's a couple other guys that fit that mold in this class that I'll talk about, but I don't think any of them are one, like just the level of player that he showed to be last year and the ability to be ready to go right away as an older player. And I think in the slot, you can kind of survive a little bit longer than you would if he was like an outside corner. So the age doesn't bother me as much as it would if he was like a true boundary corner, right? And I think at the end of the day, he can also be potentially a free safety for you a little bit if you need him to play kind of in base more, or if you want to get him on the field in base. That's where I think his home would be in that situation. But this is a true like just match up like slot defender type guy for me. Like I really like him a lot.
Yeah, he's really good with his ball skills. Like he makes some great plays.
Yeah, he will be a playmaker type for sure.
Yeah, he could be a real chess piece kind of guy. I like how he plays the run. He's shown an ability to shed blocks. He looks comfortable just kind of flying downhill to make tackles. I think I would like to see him take a little bit better angles, but for a cornerback, not a huge concern. Just really good ball skills. I feel like when I was watching his film, he does better almost like near the red zone because he's good at disrupting receivers at the start of their routes. And I mean, I feel like a lot of his interceptions kind of came in that area where he was like quarterbacks can't really take advantage of him down there. He's another guy who used to run track, so he has the speed to keep up with the deep ball. I think he anticipates things really well. Like in zone man, he anticipates route combinations and stuff really well. He's kind of always like he sees screens coming and things like that. Good length, which helps him at the line and to high point balls. He recovers pretty quickly when he's beaten. And he's one of the guys on this list. I feel like I've complained about a lot of guys who just shoulder hit and don't wrap up, but he wraps up. He has good technique tackling. There are concerns. ACL injury, like Dalton mentioned, and he's a 6-year senior. So he not a great combination.
If he was a boundary corner or something, I'd be more concerned about him. Let me just put it that way. But yeah.
No, and while he anticipates things well, I think he can get caught looking in the backfield a little too often. Yeah, he'll read the quarterback size for a little longer than he should sometimes. But exciting player. I definitely understand having him one. I think I had him. I think it was just 3, and then I moved him down to 4, so not that much of a change. But I did have him a little higher originally. For me, the reason I pushed him down a little bit was just kind of the ACL and the 6-year senior thing. That was enough for me to be a little more pessimistic about him, but he does a lot of things really well. So I definitely see why I'd be higher on him.
Yeah. The ball watching in zone is kind of like my main concern about him in coverage. And Manny's great. And I think like that's what you're going to use him for, like in a league that's just getting more and more of these athletic tight ends that are basically big receivers. You need a guy like Stukes. I have a 4th round grade on him just because, again, the age and injury history.
I understand
the fact that I think is very like kind of a niche role a little bit. I mean, it's used a lot, but like.
It depends if he's is he your every down nickel or not is the question.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
Which maybe he isn't depending on what system and what team you are.
Yeah, because he's also probably not locking up your shiftier slot receivers as much.
Right, he might need to be used differently in that situation. Yeah.
But the thing that really jumps off the screen on him is effort. I mean, the effort. Like there are so many plays that he chases down from the other side of the field, and it's like he's the only guy even trying.
He plays like a guy who had to play until he was 6-year senior. Let me put it that way. Which I guess at least there's that if you're going to do that. So I will give him that.
Yeah, but that's all I got on him.
No, that's definitely fun. I do think if I was listing other like corners that we've talked about as slot corners, there's a chance that he would fall to 2 or 3. Like I could see like maybe like a Terrell or an Abney or someone like that convince me, or Pons if I really wanted to do that, which I just refuse to out of basically spite. Because I know the NFL is going to screw him and do that. I already can feel it coming. But I do understand like how like I'm taking a little bit of a leap of faith with him being an older player and expecting him to stay healthy and do what he did last year. But if he's the version of himself he was last year with a little bit more refinement, especially like you said, the ball watching and getting his eyes in the right place, he could be a really fun nickel defender for a good while for a team. But any other names that you brought up, Jake, that you wanted to touch more on or that we didn't really get a chance to talk about a lot for you with the slot guys?
I think the only one that we haven't talked about so far that I have left is Keontae Scott.
Okay, and we'll talk
I don't
about
know
him
if
for
we-
sure.
talk about
So
him.
Yeah.
We'll
So
be
we
on all
can
of
go on to your guys's.
I want to
Yeah.
see where you guys have these guys. Yeah, go ahead. Dalton.
So I'll run through mine quick. I have Dalen Everett as my number 5 because I
Yeah,
do
we
think
talked about that. Yeah,
he might just be a guy that you just have him play there.
Might work out.
4 Stukes,
Yeah.
3 Terrell. Again, talked about why.
Mhm.
2 I have Pons just because I think if you
Yeah.
wanted him to play in the slot, he'd be really damn good at it. But
Yeah.
he doesn't need to. And then my number 1, ironically, very similar to Stukes in age, but my number 1 is Keontae Scott.
And I respect you for it.
And like, I mean, all I'll say is you can tell why Miami and Indiana were in the national championship game because both those teams had were full of guys that play like D'Angelo Pons and Keontae Scott.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to know about both of those teams.
Yeah, we'll get to Scott. And so, where'd you have him again, Jake? Sorry.
He was 3 for me.
So he's 4 for me, but only because the guys ahead of him. I really like Stukes a lot in the same mold as the older player, and I think he just might have a little bit more like impact potential as a cover player. And the 2 guys ahead of him that I'll get to in a second are just younger players who I think have more upside. That's it. If I needed a nickel tomorrow, though, dude, he's fun. My notes, let me just, because this will sum it up quickly, and then I'll give you my list because I just want to make sure we get this out of him. Think faster Mike Hilton. Imagine that for a second. There you go. Very literally, like, what if Mike Hilton had a rocket booster strapped to his back and could eliminate players underneath whenever, like when Keontae Scott's moving forward, that's not good for you as the offense. When he's moving backward, that's when you got him a little bit. And that therein lies the issue. But that's again, it's a nickel player, so it's not quite the same as if he was playing boundary. I'll just give my list here because mine is very different, obviously, from you guys because of the way I did my nickel list. So number 5 would be Kyle Lewis, the linebacker out of Pitt.
I like that.
I think he's a big slot defender. Like, I just think that you just stick him out there. You can play him at will sometimes if you want to like have a moonlight as a linebacker. I know some people in the NFL community think he's Derek Brooks, apparently, which maybe just don't do that. Don't say that about a player that's going to go on day 2 of the draft.
I think a better comp might be like Divine Diablo.
I would listen to that more. I'll say that much. Hey, both start with anyway. I have him at 5. I'm intrigued by what he could be. Again, I already talked about Scott at 4. I have Jalen Kilgore at number 3, who's going to be also in our safety rankings, I imagine, for some of us, at least somewhere in them. And then I have Chandler Rivers, the corner out of Duke, is actually my number 2. Like he's my top pure like cover slot corner. Like if I was taking someone who is a corner right now and moving him to the slot because I watched him as a slot only. Now, he would probably come down a couple spots if I inserted like a Terrell or someone like that or whoever, because I think his size limitations are more noticeable than those guys are and why I moved him to a slot type. And then, as I talked about, number 1 was Traden Stukes. So all of those guys have at least day 2 grades. I have a mid to like early day 2 grade on Stukes, and then the rest of the guys have mid day 2 or less, but all fun players to talk about. But let's talk about Keontae Scott a little bit more because that's definitely the funnest name. Like, go ahead, Dalton. I know he's your number 1, so I want to hear more.
So one of my notes on him, is dog. In all caps, DAWG, just a dog. Like, and like he's 25, which is probably the biggest. He's gonna be 25 as a rookie, which is the biggest knock. But the way he got there is interesting. So, like, apparently he moved around a lot in high school and didn't really get recruited anywhere. So played JUCO for a couple of years and was a star, and then just eventually made his way to Miami. And I mean, he was just awesome.
The rest is history.
Yeah, as a blitzer, he's just
so
a problem.
That's why the Mike Hilton comp comes up, by the way, because Mike Hilton used to destroy people. Like, he used to cause so many problems for offenses as a blitzer for this. Like, people would not even remember he played coverage because he was so often just running at the line of scrimmage, just screwing shit up. So,
plus player in run support, generally pretty smart. Also, I do think has some versatility. Like, I think if you needed him to, like, if you had injuries, he could survive outside. You know, it wouldn't be great. But like I think if you were having a rough year, you could maybe make it work for a game or two. And also, like, he's a leader. Like, he very clearly has that. I think he's a guy that can be a big part of your defense right away. Also love the recovery speed, which he does need because well-stemmed routes can get him in trouble.
Those hips unfortunately lie. I guess is maybe they don't, depending on how you view it. There's a reason why he doesn't play boundary, but I think it's understandable with where he plays.
Yeah, I have a second round grade on him just because he's old, but I mean, I think he's going to be a plus starter for a while.
I think there's going to be a couple teams where like that dude rocks too much. Sorry, we're taking him in the second round. I think you're right. There might be a couple of teams. Now, there's some people who are like, simply can't do it. He's how old and did what and is what type of player. But those guys, frankly, and I'm sort of in that camp, and I'm in the middle between those two. I don't think they're not having fun. They're not imagining the potential here.
I think it's like every Miami player, you just got to kind of decide. Like, I mean, he's the Akeem Mesidor of defensive backs.
He is, and like I like Akeem Mesidor a good bit, maybe not quite as much as some people out there, but I like them a good bit. I'm kind of like, again, I'd still take him like probably in the middle of the day too. Like if that's where I'm at with him, like that's fine. Like if I need some dude to just like I need somebody to make my secondary care more, he'll probably do that for you. I'll say that. So there's that. You know, teach these guys how to be physical, man. Go ahead, Jay.
His film is so fun to watch because like there will be plays like when he had that pick 6 on a screen pass.
Oh, dude!
Against I think it was against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Like those are just plays that you have to have such good awareness to make. But if you watch like on the plays where he's blitzing, if you just watch the end zone view where it's just like the offensive line, like the play will start and it'll be like 2 seconds of the play developing, and then you just see him fly in from the side of the screen and make a tackle out of nowhere. But he does so many things well. There are so many plays like that where he just kind of comes out of nowhere, out of the secondary, especially against the run. I would like to see him shed blocks a little bit better. I think that's one area where once, whether it be receivers or who else are able to kind of latch onto him, he kind of struggles to get off. But he's really good at rerouting receivers, even if he's in zone and a receiver is passing through his zone. He'll find a way to reroute them. Closes on the ball quickly. His feet are like he has pretty good footwork. He's pretty patient, and then he recognizes things really well. Like that pick 6, he sees screens happening, and those little jump offs like that. So. Yeah, he plays like his hair is on fire, and he plays with a ton of intensity. And yeah, there's a lot of things he does really well. I get the hype there with him.
Yeah, I think with him too, like if you want that enforcer type, and he's a smaller player than I think some people were hoping he'd be because of the way he plays, like he's under 6 foot, under 200 pounds, like. I think if he was a little bit bigger, he'd be even higher on a lot of people's boards. But what he does, he's very, very good at. And what he doesn't do well you have to insulate from. But I think if you can do that properly, like he could be like a legitimate, like one of those like fan favorite DBs. Like, oh man, that dude just rocks.
Yeah.
Right? Like everyone loves him. Regardless of the fact he might have a little bit of trouble as far as the upside case with being older and stuff like that. But I'll kind of touch on some of my guys because again, I think the ones I have in my list other than Scott were guys that generally you guys either maybe didn't watch or are planning on watching for a different show, obviously with next week. I'll start with a little bit more on Lewis because I talked a little bit about him. Again, I don't think he can play actual like linebackers, frankly. Like I just don't, at least not at a high enough level where I'd rather him play there opposed to trying to be this like bigger slot type defender. I just think his skill set fits more naturally there. Like maybe that means he has to drop down to like, I don't know, 215 instead of 224, whatever he was his pro day or whatever it is. That might be the best thing for him to do, but he's a fun player though. Like you could tell that he covers people other than like Malachi Tony. Don't ask him to do. You talked about that, Dalton. Don't do that. That's kind of fucked up that they did that to him. Actually, kind of. That's pitch for you, I guess. But he's definitely a lot of fun. Jalen Kilgore. My notes on him, unfortunately, are a little bit like it is what it is. What if you took like 8% of the size and athleticism away from Nicky Manwari? Like. I don't want to helmet scout, but like, what if you're just a worse version of him, and like by enough that he's like a 3rd round player probably. Like that's he plays very similar body type, very similarly like very good athlete, but doesn't have the physicality you want, and that's kind of the thing that Maury struggled with. I think in South Carolina, one of the reasons some people were lower on him, like he didn't play as physical as you think he would for his size and how he played. I think the same thing can be said about Kilgore, but he is very intriguing with that athletic profile. I don't know. I'm curious what teams do with him. Like, I think a team is going to take him sometime on day 2 and try to develop him. That's what I would probably do too. I could see a couple teams squint their eyes and be like, he kind of looks like that kid that was there last year. Like I just said. So we'll see if we get him higher than maybe I expect. And then Chandler Rivers is a really interesting guy because I have to double check his combine measurements, but I'm pretty sure he came in under. I think he was listed at 5'10" maybe, but I think he fell under that number at the combine. I actually want to pull it up so I can double check it because it's important for his profile.
He was 5'9.5", 185 at the combine.
So yeah, he was right. Arm length under 30 inches, like. He's a smaller player, obviously, but the athleticism is certainly there. I just noticed a lot when I watched him. I'm like, man, if you just let him stick in the slot, it'd be like more of a traditional slot receiver that covered like coverage first slot that we don't really get a ton of anymore, at least in the like that size profile of a slot corner. He could be a really, really good like finishing piece for a secondary that doesn't have that like guy that can come in and handle some of the smaller receivers, especially. But he's definitely a fun one. And then I talked about Stukes a good bit. Like if he was 2 years younger, he'd probably have like a late first, early second for me. That's kind of, I think, what it comes down to with him too.
I wonder what he would have been like in next year's class if he'd have done the thing that everyone else at Duke seems to be doing and just spending another year in college and going and playing for Miami for a year.
Well,
the transfer to Miami bump.
That seems to work for literally everybody. So
yeah, I wonder how Manny Diaz feels about being the head coach for the farm team for the team that fired him.
Can't be good, right?
It's a tough spot to be in.
You tell me I can't even keep Cooper Barkay around?
Well, he's gonna follow Mensa.
That's true. I saw a picture of Mensa recently. And I'm like, he looks like he bulked up a little bit. Is he going to be able to actually throw the ball hard? I don't know. Find out.
Yeah.
I can't wait until we start getting ready for quarterbacks because I already know there's going to be some there's already irresponsible takes about it. We're not even through this class yet. I already know there's going to be so much cold water put on that class when we get down to it. I know it. I know for a fact.
I mean, yeah. That I mean, the last like 3 years we've been really, or the last couple of years we've been really excited about a
Here
quarterback.
comes the quarterback play, and it doesn't show up.
Yeah, it's just what happened?
Something will happen. There'll be some random person who we've never heard of come out of nowhere and be like, "Actually, I'm the number 2 quarterback in this class,"
Yeah,
or whatever. And like,
and Dante Moore will play like a 3rd-round pick next year.
he will somehow
And
get benched for
Arch Manning,
fake Mahomes.
Yeah, Arch Manning will be okay.
Yeah, he'll just be fine and go first overall because it's Arch Manning.
Yeah,
he's probably fine.
Or he'll stay for another year somehow.
Is he? Can he? I know that's a stupid question.
Eligibility is a myth at this point.
I know, but
I mean, he'll get hurt. He'll get banged up halfway through the year and then stay for another year.
Okay, well,
and then Chambliss obviously can't go that high next year because he's going to be 1,000.
Yeah, no, he'll sue for a 7th year. And
Yeah,
because he'll go to the Mississippi State Supreme Court again. He'll just get infinite out. He'll just get basically like the equivalent of like the Chipotle black card or something, like for college though. Instead, like you can have as much college as you want, sir.
I'm okay with that, honestly. Why can't we just have professional college football players?
Oh, that's a sentence that really made me want to cry a little bit. I'm not going to lie about it, but I also kind of understand what you're trying to say.
I mean, at some point, someone's going to argue that they have the right to that, like NCAA eligibility is just unfair practices to deny people their right to work.
I mean, when you're making as much money as some of them do, they might be able to say that. Yeah.
Yeah,
that could be like, hey, I'm the backup offensive lineman for Miami. I'm getting $70,000 a year. Like that literally could be a job for some people. Like actually for a while at least. What a time to be alive, folks. We'll see. But no, this was definitely a fun group. I think that when we get through safeties, we'll start to kind of have a final picture of this class. And I'm definitely excited to get back to some guys that I didn't watch early on, either because they weren't, quite as well known, or I just didn't have time to watch a lot of them, like especially receivers. There's so many receivers I need to watch. So many receivers. I'm gonna get tired of it. I'm gonna be like, you get to be 32 on my list. I don't care. Fuck you. Who are you? What's your name? What are you talking about? Which school did you go to? That's not a real place. That's gonna happen probably.
Yeah.
But no. Definitely a fun one. So we'll be back next week with our safety show, and we're getting close to our. I think it's. I keep forgetting the name of it though.
Epic Mock is
Epic Mock.
Not next
week. The week after.
Yeah. I think it's next Thursday actually. Yeah.
So not this week, but the next, like not the end of this week, but the end of next week is when we're doing that. Yeah. So that'll definitely be a lot of fun too. We're excited for that, I'm sure. But we'll see you guys next time. Hopefully, if your team needs a corner, you got to pick somewhere from like 50, on like even some of the teams that don't have like the first round picks. Like I can see, ironically, unfortunately, the Colts could use another corner, but they traded all their picks for Sauce Gardner. I don't know if you can justify taking a corner with that pick, but hey, it might not be a bad idea. But we'll definitely see you guys here again soon. And once we finish safeties, we'll start doing some more, we'll have our boards at some point. That's going to be a lot. I don't know yet how I want to do that, because even the top 50, putting that together was certainly an experience for me last year. So we'll have to figure out how we do that for our actual